When the lights are off and doors locked, when you and your partner are tucked away in bed, the last thing you want to hear is something go bump in the night, especially when that noise means the real-life Freddy Krueger is at your door. Let's recap. It's close to 7 a.m. and an older married couple are just waking up when they hear a weird noise. It's probably nothing, but the husband isn't taking any chances. He tells his wife to lock herself in the bedroom while he goes and checks it out. Thank God she didn't listen to him. She hears a struggle and runs into the hall to see a guy with a huge kitchen knife trying to stab her husband in the heart. Luckily, at the last second, her man lands a punch and the knife digs deep into his bicep. She grabs whatever's closest, her slippers, and charges right at the stranger. She gets a few good whacks in before she runs outside screaming for help. The intruder panics and runs, leaving her husband bleeding on the floor. They're lucky to be alive. They weren't the only people this man attacked that day, and they won't be the last. An hour later, another couple met the pointy end of his blade. Earlier that morning, a 46-year-old pub owner was found dead in North London, stabbed in the face, neck, chest, and stomach. 2 days before that, a 75-year-old woman was found in East Sussex, her throat slit from ear to ear. There's a serial killer on the loose in England, and his name is Daniel Gonzalez. He's a 25-year-old guy whose hobbies include video games and horror movies, especially Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh, and drugs. He also really likes drugs. Unfortunately, his favorite activities are only making his already bad mental health much, much worse. Daniel was a smart kid growing up, great at languages, good at chess and theater. Then, in 1997, when he was 17, his mother and grandmother took him on vacation, and that's when everything seemed to change. He became extremely paranoid. He was sure people were talking about him behind his back, and the TV was sending him subliminal messages. The next year, things got worse. Daniel punched through a glass window and was admitted to a psychiatric facility. Over the next few years, there's more violence and more visits to the psych ward. Eventually, he's diagnosed with schizophrenia and prescribed meds. By 2002, he's bouncing between his father's house in Spain and the London streets. But Daniel has dreams for the future like anybody else. Of course, his goals are a little different than yours and mine. He wants to be a famous serial killer. He figures 10 victims ought to do it. On September 15th, 2004, his killing spree kicks off. Armed with a steak knife, he goes after a couple walking their dog. They manage to scare him off, but he's only just getting started. His next move is even more terrifying. He puts on a hockey mask like Jason Voorhees and jumps 76-year-old Marie Harding while she's out for an afternoon walk. She's found dead around 4:20 p.m. with stab wounds to her neck and back. The killing blow was a long slash across her throat. It's one of the best things he's ever done. It's such a good feeling. He writes it down in a note to himself. He can't wait to do it again. The next day, he goes out looking for someone to kill. Kevin Malloy is something of a gentle giant. The 46-year-old pub owner goes out of his way to avoid trouble whenever he can. He's out for an early morning walk when he crosses paths with Daniel Gonzalez. Daniel's spent the last 10 hours drinking, and the voices in his head are screaming for another adrenaline rush. He doesn't say a word. He just lunges for Kevin's face, neck, chest, and stomach. I saw this bloke, he explained later. I thought, okay, ready, steady, go. Then I jumped up and stuck it all the way in. It was such a long knife. There was no chance for the poor guy. No chance. By the time Kevin's body is found, Daniel's breaking into the house where he met the blunt end of Christina Constantino's slipper. From there, he flees to Highgate and starts ringing doorbells. A too trusting couple opens their door to him. 75-year-old Derek Robinson is a retired pediatrician who worked with at-risk families and helped children during the war in Iraq. His 68-year-old wife, Jean, had a long career in Christian aid programs. Daniel unleashes every ounce of violence he has on them. Their interior decorator arrives moments later to find the place covered in blood. Derek and Jean are already dead. Daniel's naked, standing over their bodies. When he sees the decorator, he runs out the back, leaving a trail of blood behind him. Police managed to take him in later that day after he tried to buy his way into a tube station with a bloody 20-pound note. After his arrest, Daniel's transferred to Broadmoor Hospital, England's oldest high-security psychiatric facility. They've housed the worst of the worst over the years, including terrorists, jihadists, assassins, cannibals, and serial killers, but none are as violent as Daniel Gonzalez. He's so unhinged that armed guards in riot gear have to accompany him everywhere he goes. Not that it stopped him from trying to kill himself by biting through the underside of his elbow. His legal team tells the jury he's insane. The prosecution says he's faking it. They paint him as a cold and callous killer, fueled by drugs and inspired by Hollywood slashers. And guess what? The jury's eating it up. They give him not 1, not 2, but 6 life sentences, and off he goes back to Broadmoor. But here's where it takes a turn. Fast forward to the summer of 2007. It's a regular day until it's not. Nurses find Daniel, and it's a scene no one wanted. He's gone, left the world by his own hand with nothing but a makeshift blade. So, what's your take? Was Daniel a product of his own making, or did the system fail him? Drop your thoughts, your theories, anything that's buzzing in your head right down in the comments. Let's get the conversation rolling. And if you like getting all the crime in half the time, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a recap. See you soon.